Good Friday morning to you, Top Fan Rivalry followers. It is Bill and Jackson, and we are excited because this is the first weekly review that we are doing on, drum roll, the new website. Boom! New website. Awesome sauce. So, Jackson, how are you today?
I'm doing all right. Braves just won a series against the first place Texas Rangers, so I'm feeling pretty good.
Hey, how'd that Toronto series go?
We don't talk about that. That was some of the worst baseball I've ever watched. If you guys want to hear the rant, uh, I don't know if Thomas sent you the video already for it to get posted, but we ranted about it for it's going to be up here on the Top Fan site. You'll hear a
Yes.
full in-depth rant about that series from the both of us.
So what was hilarious about that, right? Everybody that's watching this, you guys got to know Jackson and I are good buddies, but you got to know. So yesterday, Thursday morning, I get a text message from Thomas, and obviously he's on the East Coast, I'm on the West Coast, so he's probably driving to work. I get it bings at 5 o'clock in the morning. Well, I'm already up anyways, so I don't care. It's bing, right? And first thing he says is, something about how the AL East has everybody over 500, which, I've been talking about for a while. And then so to poke his bear, I responded back and I said something along the lines of yes. And then I gave him another statistic. And I said, oh, by the way, the Dodgers have the best record in the National League and the third best record in all of baseball. And Thomas just responded. He goes, yeah, but you just lost one of your aces for like a month and a half. Like, yes, yes. He goes, well, we don't want to talk about the Toronto series.
No, we don't. That's off limits for this weekly review. So
All right, so my first topic is the Toronto. No, I'm teasing. Jackson, what do you got on your mind? What's the first one?
uh, I will talk about. I have no horse in that race
Go for it.
per se. How about how heated that series got between the two teams, between the accusations of coaches standing outside of the box to steal signs, Domingo Herman getting ejected for sticky stuff, um, the Blue Jays flat out accusing Aaron Judge of just cheating all the time, and just the general vibe of the series just felt very hostile. There was a benches clearing altercation in game one, I believe.
Yeah,
No, there wasn't. They yelled at each other. They didn't clear the
yeah.
benches. They're so how do you feel, Bill? Do you feel like this has developed into a rivalry again? Toronto, New
No,
York.
it's not a rivalry yet. But Toronto, so Toronto's in this weird, unique space, right? Because on paper, they're probably the best team on paper in that division. Okay. Yet they're not playing like it.
Unless they're playing the Braves, but moving
Well,
on.
listen, that was you. That wasn't me, brother. So, so they kind of have this, win or die mentality, and that's what they were going after last night. I mean, over this series. I'm sorry. Um, no, but I understand. I understand both sides of the point because everybody's competitive, right? Aaron Judge is not cheating. Now, sticky
No,
stuff
it's
on the
not.
hand, he didn't even bat an eye, didn't even try to appeal it. He's just taking the 10-game suspension and a $100,000 fine. Doesn't even care.
My favorite, he goes, the splotches are from tobacco. And it's like, well, you can't have tobacco on your hands. Uh,
Yeah, no, it was
but
it was a series. It was a series for sure, for
yeah,
sure.
I feel like the Yankees are getting into a lot of heated series. Now it's been Tampa, now Toronto. I feel like when they play Baltimore and Boston, it's going to be really bad again. So this AL East is a bloodbath in the sense that they're just beating up on each other baseball wise, but they might be beating up on each other by the end of the season physically.
Yeah, yeah, no, amen, preach. And it's probably a good thing that these guys only play each other 13 times all season instead of
Oh
19
yeah.
because you know it's
Oh
gonna get it's gonna get ugly.
it probably is. But crazy series. The Yankees did take two out of three. I will give credit to them. Aaron Judge is still Aaron Judge.
Yeah.
In other news.
So exactly. So where was that series held, by the way? Here's my point.
Toronto.
Notice how the Blue Jays didn't have the guts to do that in the Bronx. Try that in the Bronx, you're gonna have 40,000 people from the stands jumping in. Like it.
Throwing batteries at you or something. I don't know.
Listen, Arson Judge is amazing. He's an amazing talent. Arson slash Aaron Judge. He's an amazing talent. He's he's the physical structure. He doesn't have to do much to connect with the ball. Remember his what was it, the home run derby a couple years ago? It looked like he wasn't even trying, and he was winning it. He was just knocking the ball out of the yard. So the Blue Jays can say whatever they want. Yeah, no, but it's getting fun. It's getting fun. All right, so I'm going to take us over a little bit. I'm going to take
Getting
us
real
over to the
fun.
National League Central. Okay, I'm going to talk about two teams in one. We'll call it the tale of two teams. Who started out lights out? Pittsburgh Pirates. They're now 3-7 in the last 10. Who started out, oddly enough, terrible? The St. Louis Cardinals. And the Cardinals are now 8-2 in their last 10. So there's a little bit of an argument to go back and forth here on, okay, you know, don't get too excited when somebody jumps out first 20 or 30 games and are lights out. Remember that every baseball team has their options. Do I think the Cardinals are going to end the season in last place? I don't. Do I think the Pirates are going to end in first place this season? I don't either. Um, honestly, even though they've lost 5 in a row, I think the Cubs have a shot to win that division. But just me. What are your thoughts, Jackson?
Uh, although the Cardinals seem to have righted the ship, I don't think. I think they've dug themselves too big of a hole to win a division. I think they'll be in the mix for the wild card, but they're 8-2 in their last 10. They're still tied with the Nationals for the worst record in the National League. So you know they played really great, but the question is always how's the pitching going to hold up?
Bingo. Bingo. It would surprise me if the Cardinals won the World Series with this start and, like you say, how the pitching is going to hold up. Do I think that they can get into the playoffs? Sure. Have they dug a big enough hole? I don't think so. Because again, it's the Cardinals. They're not the A's. They're not 10-32 or whatever it is. I mean, they've won 16 or 17 games, something to that effect. I don't have it exact, but um, I don't think it hurts as bad as we think it hurts. Just just my thought. But we'll see. We'll see. The Cubs are
Yeah,
gunning for things. The Pirates are going to right their ship. Who knows what's going on in Milwaukee? Like it's just a roll of dice over there.
my thing is being behind the team. You might be able to make up 6.5 games on one team, but the likelihood of you playing well enough and all four teams in front of you playing bad enough that you leapfrog all four of them, you know, it's
The
tough.
the only way that you can do that, the only way that you can do that, Jackson, is you got to win every series against division rivals. You don't have to sweep them. 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3, 2 out of 3. If it's a 2 game series, you got to sweep it. If it's a 4 game series, you got to take 3 out of 4. And then you have to play, I would say, 520 or better ball throughout the rest of the league.
Yeah, especially now with like we mentioned earlier, less divisional games, you definitely have to play a lot better outside of your division.
Yeah.
But
So if,
the
if they play
division game,
520, what's that?
yeah, but division games are key because there's only 13 of them. You
Bingo.
lose you lose 8 or 9 against a divisional rival, it could be disastrous. Where in years past, you lose 8 or 9, you still won.
True. True. The Cardinals are one of those teams that is freakishly scary over time, right? And so when you look at their June coming up, they got 3 with the Pirates, 3 with the Rangers, then 3 with Cincinnati. Okay, a game, games that they need to win right there. Uh, 3 with the Giants, 2 with the struggling Mets, 3 with Washington, 2 with Chicago, 3 with Houston, and then they end the final game of the month with the Yankees.
That's
So
that's still pretty tough.
again, yeah, again, it's a tough road to hoe, but I mean the next month in June they have one game. I mean in July they have one game against the Yankees. I'm sorry, 2 games against the Yankees, then 4 against Miami, 3 against the White Sox, All-Star break, 3 against Washington, 3 against Miami, 4 against the Cubs, actually 7 against the Cubs in July. So July's their makeup month. But I'm not a Cardinals, I'm not going to peddle the Cardinals, so there it is. What do you got for number 2?
Number two is so I'm going to be a Braves homer here for a second, but is Ronald Acuna Jr. the best all-around player in baseball? My question to
Ooh,
you.
ooh, no,
No?
no. You know who I'm going to say?
So if we removed Shohei Ohtani from the running, is Ronald Acuna Jr. the best all-around player in baseball?
I still say no
Still
because
say no?
Shohei's got a teammate.
Mike Trout. That's fair. That's fair. That's an acceptable answer to me. But I just want to talk about he's homered in 4 straight games now, and that's definitely upped his projections pace. He was already the other day they were saying he was on pace for like 36 home runs and 67 stolen bases, which would be the first
Yeah,
time that's ever happened. He's just it's crazy. I've never watched I as a fan, I've never had a player on a team where, every time Acuna is up, I want to watch the at bat.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Whereas before, doing something else, my wife's like, "Hey, can you do this for me?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." I go and do it. But now Acuna's up. I'm like, just let Acuna bat, and I'll get done whatever needs to be done.
Bingo. No, no, I love it.
And
I love
and
it.
you know, there's a lot of really good players in baseball right now. But Ronald Acuna Jr. I'm just going to throw out there. It's just been a monster. If you haven't watched a single Braves game this year, I recommend you do. They have some good series coming up. They play Seattle this weekend. They play the Dodgers next week. They play the Phillies next week. Check it out.
Yeah. So I will say this. If you were to say, is Ronald Acuna one of the top 5 best players, all around players in baseball? I would say no, he's probably in the top 3. And I just told you who the top 2
Yeah,
were,
Shohei,
right?
Mike Trout. That's
I
fair.
mean, but I give the guy the respect where the respect is due,
Mhm.
man. This guy is good. Don't this guy is fun. I'm not a Braves fan. I was raised in the 80s when the Dodgers and the Braves were in the same division. So I was trained to hate the Braves. But I can respect the talent. I mean, just like Michael Harris the third. Listen, that guy's an incredible talent, right? You don't get away from that guy. But Ronald Acuna, yeah, good talent. Good
Yeah,
talent. Absolutely.
he's also like physically incapable of hitting a home run less than 420 feet.
That's true. That's true. It's like whatever he's drinking in the morning, he needs to stop drinking it or drink half of it because it's just not fair anymore. So, good call. Good call. Okay, I'm going to give you one on something that I would love your weigh in on this. I am sick and tired of hearing this because I live out in the West Coast. The Padres have not started out the way that they should. You'll agree with that statement, right?
Yeah,
Okay. Here's the thing. Do I think the Padres are going to end up in third or fourth place this season in the West? Absolutely not. With their pitching staff and with their hitting, even though they're 8 games away from the Dodgers in the lead, do I think that the Dodgers and Padres are going to be neck and neck by the end of the season? 100%. They're just too good. And I've watched a game with you live. I've watched a couple other games on TV. These guys are really, really good. And you've got Darvish, you got Musgrove, and you got Blake Snell on the bump. You got a great bullpen, Josh Hader to close it out, and then you have all stars pretty much at every position. Between Bogey and Tatis and Manny and Soto, right? Jake Cronenworth, right? This Hung Sung Kim guy, he's pretty good too. So my question to you, Jackson, for my number two is: are the Padres going to stay where they're at, or do you think they're going to make a move a quarter of the way through the season's done? So we still got more than 100 games to go. What are your thoughts?
I don't think they'll finish fourth. I think you know they'll finish second. They'll struggle to jump Arizona because Arizona is playing really well. Arizona's got a sneaky good team. But I just think the Padres, like several teams on here, are just they're too talented, and I think I talk about the Cardinals not having the pitching. I think the Padres have the lineup, the bullpen, and the pitching, the starting pitching to be able to kind of get themselves out of this under 500 through 40 games. I, I just think they're going to click at some point. It's going to be annoying how much you're going to be hearing about it because they have the star power, they have Soto, they have Machado, they have Tatis. You're going to be hearing about those guys every night, in the middle of the summer because it's just that good. That's three guys when they're playing well or MVP candidates, and they're all in their prime.
Uh, Agreed. Agreed. The way,
Interesting to see.
go ahead. I'm sorry.
It'll be interesting to see if they could keep the starting rotation healthy because that's something they have struggled with over the last couple of seasons. But as long as the rotation, goes out there, gives 6 innings, 4 or less runs, that gives them a chance to win. That's how good the Padres are.
I completely agree with you, Jackson. Sorry, it's early on a Friday morning, and so I'm just sitting there. You're on the East Coast. It's easy for you, brother.
Wide
Um,
awake.
the but I'm tired of hearing from it. And again, being a Dodger fan, I'm tired of hearing Dodger fans saying, "Oh, San Diego sucks. San Diego sucks." They don't suck. It's a quarter of the way through the season. These guys are so talented. You still got more than 100 games left to go. You got 120 plus games to go. Yeah, no, they don't suck. They don't. I mean, they didn't start out the way that they wanted to start out. Fine. Now, if they were 8 games out of first place with 20 to go or 30 to go,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's a different
Little different.
story. We got more than 100 baseball games to go. Could the Dodgers go and lose 11 out of 15? Sure, anybody can. At the same time, could the Padres win 11 out of 15? Sure, anybody can. Right. And so, anyways, enough on my rant, but I'm so sick and tired of everybody on the West Coast saying, "Oh, the Padres are done." They're not done. It's May. They're out 8 games in the middle of September. Then talk to me. But it's May.
Yeah. We're not even in June yet, so
Yeah. All right. What you got for number three?
before the podcast, I said I didn't want to rag on teams in the NL East, and I will just ask a question though. Is it time for the Mets to hit the panic button?
Ah, yes. We talked about this. Sam and I talked about this last week on Around the Diamond.
Oh, perfect.
Preach, brother. Let's hear it.
So the New York Mets, they just called up another top prospect to help the lineup out, but they look stagnant. They look uninspired.
So they won yesterday.
Tampa Bay.
Right.
Yeah,
And they beat Tampa
that's
Bay.
their first series win since April 14th or something like that. So it's been about a month.
Mm-hmm.
Are the Mets going to miss out on the playoffs, Bill?
Okay, so good question. So let me be the top fan stats guy. If I can take your title from you for 1 second.
I bequeath it upon you
Well,
for
that's
this
not a
question.
word that you get to use a lot, bequeath, right? Okay, so I'm looking at this Friday morning. Obviously, the Mets won yesterday. The Mets are 22 and 23. They're 6 games out of first place. They're 5-5 in their last 10. Here's their problem. Their run differential is -17. Now, the Mets should probably be very happy that they don't, they'd be further out of first place if they were in the West. But check this out. Let's talk their schedule. Cleveland, Chicago, Colorado, Philly to end the month. Okay. All of those teams are fighting for playoff spots. None of them are over 500. So you've got You don't have to go on a huge winning streak. Just win the rest of these series. Win the 2 out of 3 from Cleveland, 2 out of 3 from Chicago, 2 out of 3 from Colorado, and then take 1 out of 2 in the recap. So then they go, this is funny. In June, they start with Phillies for 1 game. Then they go and play, or then they have Toronto. They host Toronto. And then who do they host after Toronto? I mean, where do they go after Toronto?
Atlanta.
That's right. Just in case we haven't covered the Atlanta-Toronto thing yet. So how was that? Never mind. We don't need to talk about the series. Do I think that it's time for them to panic? Not yet, but that division's too doggone good. Miami's playing a lot better than anybody thought. And so that division's too doggone good for them to go too much further back. That's my
Yeah.
thing. What's your thoughts?
I mean, the general consensus of what I've heard, and as a bracer, I analyzed, they kind of are in a little bit of a panic mode. Because I mean, if you look before taking 2 out of 3 from Tampa, they got swept by Detroit. They lost the series to the Rockies, the Reds, the Nationals. Those, you said the Guardians are struggling, and the Cubs are under 500, and then they play the Rockies again. But if you as a fan had just gone through that stretch, does it inspire confidence that you're coming up against teams like that if you haven't been able to put them away over the past month?
Yeah. 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 Yes, it's a very unique situation. Should they be freaking out a little bit in Queens? Yes. Should they be hitting the panic button? Probably not. The difference between them, though, and the Cardinals have a worse record than the Mets, is the division that they play in this year. See, to win that division in the Central, you need 85 wins. That's what I'm going to call it. 85 to 87 wins. To win the National League East, you're going to need 93 plus, right?
I think the advantage of the East too is you don't have to win the East to get into the playoffs, but if you're in the Central, you have to win the Central to get into the playoffs, most likely.
True statement. And so the other, yeah, I mean, so if you're going to win the East for the Mets, of their last 120 games, they need to win at least 70 of them. So in 120, well, actually they've got about 118 left. They're going to need to win 70 of those. So they're going to have to be 30 games over 500 to win that division. Whereas if they were in the Central, that's not the case.
Yeah, they played about that well last year, but just judging off the early form, and the injuries to the already thin starting rotation,
yeah,
it's going to be tough. Good that we're this far up with all the stuff that's happened, but it's also, I'm kind of waiting around for the Mets and the Phillies to kind of put on a run. But
so yeah,
time will tell. Time will tell.
Yes.
I'm psyched for the division games because I want the Braves to win the division game, so I don't have to worry about it.
Preach, my friend, preach. Okay, so I'm going to take for my number 3. I'm going to take a page out of our playbook from last week. So last week we talked a little bit about small ball, right? This week I'm going to talk a little bit about the value of shutdown innings. And I know people get tired of me saying this, but what is a shutdown inning? You score, then when you go on defense, you shut the team down. Case in point, if you watch the Baltimore Anaheim game or Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim against Baltimore when Shohei pitched, it was a slugfest back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. I watched the Dodgers a couple of times this last week where they were up 2 or 3 or 4 runs. When you're up 3 runs in the middle of the game, throw strikes. Don't be too fine. Just throw strikes. Make them hit it. Okay? Because remember, making them hit it is advantage pitcher. Why do I say that? Jackson, you know this because you're the top fan stats guy. Why do I say that? Well, a Hall of Fame. What's that?
Because good hitters only get on 35 out of 100 times when they put the ball in play.
Bingo. Bingo. So the odds are in your favor. Don't be too fine. Make them hit it. And so unfortunately right now we're looking for the 3-pitch strikeout on every batter when you're up 5 runs or you just scored a run or whatever it might be. And the Dodgers, when the Dodgers played the Padres in LA this last week, um, the Padres went up 1-0 on a Juan Soto home run. Well, you need to have a shutdown inning because the Dodgers have a pretty powerful top of their lineup too, right? What they do, they gave up a 3-run home run to JD Martinez. So now you're down 3-1.
and
And then
and the momentum shifted in the other way.
exactly. So let's just
Right?
pay as baseball fans, pay attention to your team's shutdown innings. You want to win, you got to get shutdown innings. Drop the mic. Agree or disagree,
Yeah,
Jackson?
I absolutely agree. I think the biggest thing you can do, you don't have to. It doesn't have to be pretty. You just have to prevent runs. That's the name of the game. You know, because even though you can give up, 3 base runners and you strand the bases loaded, that's still momentum in your team's favor. Stranding the bases loaded without a run is fantastic momentum. It's a fantastic morale boost for the bats to get back out there and go, you know what, we got
We got this. We got this.
this. Let's go get him some more runs.
Yep. Yep. So do you have any honorable mentions this week, Jackson?
Um, yes, I have one, and
Good.
it's a fun one. So,
Go.
Zach Gallen on Wednesday, while warming up in Oakland, hit a bird with a curveball, becoming the second Diamondbacks pitcher to ever do that after the great Randy Johnson. So, Bill, I'm just going to point out here Randy Johnson won the Cy Young that year and led the Dayton to win another World Series with another bird being taken out. Thoughts?
Too much baseball superstition.
too much superstition. I saw somebody post that on social media and I read that was just too good. I was like, you know what? They're right. That did happen that year. So crazy coincidence though. Like he hit him with a curveball too. It wasn't even like a fastball warming up in the outfield. He threw a curveball and hit the bird. How crazy is
Yep.
that?
Yeah. No, it's pretty good aim and it's pretty poor timing for the bird. Right? The poor bird, pretty poor timing. Pretty good aim for Zach, not so good for the bird.
Yeah. Unfortunately for the bird, he has passed. But
Yes. But at least he went out under America's favorite pastime.
in baseball's worst stadium. Sorry, Oakland. It was too easy, Oakland. I'm sorry. I know you're losing the team. I'm sorry. It's true.
Kick people while they're down, why don't you, Jackson?
Oh, there was nobody there to see it, unfortunately.
True that, true that. I have one honorable mention. It's not as funny as that one. Actually, it's not funny at all. But my honorable mention is Godspeed and good luck on your recovery, Dustin May.
Oh, yeah, that is a tough one.
I mean, I'm glad that there's nothing torn. That's huge. That's very huge. But that one was not awesome. So
Yeah. So I was talking to Thomas about this, and he was asking if I thought that the pitch clock was causing all these pitchers' injuries. I just think preparation in general with how they have these guys just throw a ton of high spin pitches where they're torquing their arm. There's the 80% effort compared to the max effort
yep,
kind of throw. And I think these guys are going max effort a little too much.
yeah, I agree.
But
I agree. It is
you don't feel
scary
good in the
too.
morning.
It's
It is.
scary. I just it's really, really scary. I feel bad for these guys. I really do. You don't want to ever see anybody ever get hurt, but it's happening more and more and more. So
Yeah. But hopefully Dustin May can make it back. I know he just came back from Tommy John and you know, an elbow strain like that could have been disastrous.
yep, they say
So
6 weeks, so we'll see.
yeah. You know how injuries like that go. The 6 weeks pass and they're like, oh, he hasn't thrown yet.
Yeah,
You're like,
exactly. So all right, Jackson, what do you do besides Top Fan Rivalry? What should everybody be listening to besides our weekly review?
I mentioned it at the top. I do a Braves podcast with my good friend Thomas Brown, top fan once a week. The episode that we just recorded this week was about that Toronto Atlanta series. So find it, check it out on Top Fan. We had a lot of fun of it, despite it being some of the worst baseball we've ever watched as Braves fans. But go check it out. Have fun with us. We do mostly Braves stuff, but we will have special guests on. We had the Braves organist on. We had Toronto Blue Jays reliever Jay Jackson on. We might have some more special guests on. I can't say anything else about that. But chirp. Yeah, gotta be a little bit quiet on that. But we love talking baseball. Whether it be come check us out, we have fun.
So,
Yeah.
next time Chipper Jones calls me, I won't send him a voicemail. I'll pick it up and I'll say, "Hey, call my buddy Jackson."
Yeah, next time Chipper Jones calls you, he's probably looking for me.
That's probably true. All right, Jackson, Top Fan Rivalry followers, this has been awesome. By the way, we are 1 month and 2 days away from our first, actually 1 month and 1 day away from our first ever watch party in Atlanta, Georgia. We will be at Park Bench, and it's going to be phenomenal. So check it out. Go on the new site today, grab your tickets. The pricing on the tickets is very reasonable for what you get, and there will be plenty of people there. There will be some giveaways, some silent auctions, a lot of fun stuff to do. So we're looking forward to having you. Jackson, thank you so much for taking more time. Let's do it again next week. What do you think?
Yeah, sounds good.
All right. Talk to you soon, Jackson.
Talk to you soon.